So I gotta tell you, this book I stumbled across, it had a title that, well, it stopped me in my tracks. The End of Christianity. Can you believe that?
Wow, talk about a conversation starter.
Right. I mean, you hear talk about religion declining, but this was something else. Turns out, though, the author, Diego Fusaro, he's not just some, doomsayer on a street corner. Guy's a serious Italian philosopher.
Yeah, Fusaro doesn't pull any punches. He's making a pretty bold argument in this book. He's saying what we're seeing, it's not just people drifting away from the church. It's a head-on collision between, like, the soul of Christianity and the whole system, the dominant force of our times.
Yeah.
Techno-capitalism.
Techno what now? Sounds like something out of, I don't know, The Matrix.
Right. But it's actually not that much of a stretch. Think of it this way.
Yeah.
Techno-capitalism, it's like this all-encompassing system, right? It's everywhere. And everything is up for sale. Our time, our relationships, even our identities, they all become products.
Okay, so even our souls are commodities. How does that even work?
Well, think about how religion, how spiritual imagery is used today. It's on clothing, jewelry, you name it. Remember a few years back, those Jesus jeans ads?
Yeah, those were kind of edgy.
Exactly, and they caused a stir. Then there was that whole controversy in Europe, some fashion company using images of Jesus and Mary on their clothes. This isn't just about free speech, it's about blurring the lines, the sacred and the, well, selling jeans.
And wasn't there a legal case about that too?
Absolutely. Back in 2012, European Court of Human Rights, they actually sided with the company that used those images. Basically said, yeah, it's okay to use pictures of Jesus to move merchandise.
Wow.
And that case, whether you agree with the ruling or not, it gets to the heart of what Fusaro is saying. This techno-capitalism thing, it can be incredibly corrosive, even to deeply held beliefs.
So it's like this system, it just keeps chipping away at any deeper meaning, leaving this void. That's actually a word Fusaro uses, desert.
Exactly. And this desert, it's not just some, abstract idea. It's that feeling of emptiness that we all experience at times, religious or not.
This whole desert idea, this emptiness, it's kind of unsettling, right? It makes you wonder how this plays out in the human experience. Can we see this emptiness in literature, in art?
Fusaro uses Dostoevsky to illustrate this, which I thought was interesting.
Dostoevsky, wow, okay. Talk about heavy stuff, right. But how does that connect to techno-capitalism? Those novels are from another time, another world, really.
Right, but even though Dostoevsky wasn't dealing with, iPhones and the metaverse.
Thankfully.
Right.
Yeah.
But his novels, think Demons, Crime and Punishment, especially The Idiot, they show us what happens when a whole society loses its spiritual center. Remember, Dostoevsky, he was writing in Russia during a time of massive upheaval where everything was changing, old values were crumbling. So his characters, they're wrestling with this existential dread, this nihilism that Fusaro sees as a direct consequence of a world that's lost touch with, with the sacred, I guess you could say.
So you're saying that even though those books were written over 100 years ago, they still speak to us today, to this emptiness Fusaro is talking about.
Totally. Take Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment. He commits this awful crime, convinced he's, above the rules. But freedom isn't what he finds, right? Instead, he falls apart, consumed by guilt and this agonizing emptiness. It's what Fusaro calls hominis vacui, the empty men.
Empty men. That's a pretty chilling thought.
It is. And here's the thing. Fusaro says these empty men, they're not just fictional characters. They represent a real danger for all of us. When we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us to buy more, be more, achieve more, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters, and we become like those empty men.
Trapped on that treadmill, running but going nowhere fast.
Exactly. And that brings us to an interesting question. Where does the church, as this source of faith and tradition, where does it fit into all of this?
Right, because if anyone's got an alternative to endless consumption, it should be the church, right?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But it's not that simple. Fusaro argues the church is at a crossroads. It can be this force of resistance against, the dehumanizing aspects of techno-capitalism.
Yeah,
but
there's always a but. Okay, so the church could be this force fighting back against techno-capitalism, against us all becoming, empty men. But there's a catch. I can hear it in your voice.
Right, there's always a catch. See, Fusaro, he says the church, it's at a crossroads. It can be this bulwark holding on to those internal truths. The stuff that transcends the marketplace, that offers a different way of being, but it could also just sort of disappear, become irrelevant, like a museum piece. Or worse, it could become part of the machine.
So it's a no-win situation. Fade away or sell out. That's kind of depressing.
Well, maybe not. Maybe there's another way. Fusaro points to someone like Pope Benedict. Remember him? He warned about the dictatorship of relativism.
Yeah, wasn't that like his big thing?
It was. And it's actually really relevant here. Benedict was saying, look, if everything is relative, if there's no objective truth, well, then we lose our bearings. We're just adrift in a sea of dot stuff, products, opinions, whatever.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about Pope Francis? He seems to be doing the opposite, trying to make the church more relatable, more modern.
Right, and that's the tension. Fusaro wonders if, by trying to stay relevant, the church might actually be losing its way, becoming just another voice in the crowd.
So where does that leave, well, everyone else? Even if we're not at Mass every Sunday, or even, believers at all, this desert, this emptiness. It's something a lot of people feel, no matter what they believe.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And Fusaro, to his credit, he doesn't pretend to have all the answers.
Yeah.
But he does leave us with this challenge, this idea that we have to resist, actively resist, the allure of techno-capitalism. It's so seductive, this idea that we can just buy our way to happiness.
You mean we can't? All those Amazon purchases haven't worked. Just kidding. Kind of.
Exactly. But seriously, what Fusaro's getting at is that real meaning, real fulfillment, it doesn't come from having more stuff. It comes from something deeper.
So it's about looking inward, figuring out what truly matters, beyond all the noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something we all have to figure out for ourselves, right? It's our journey through the desert.
And those can be tough journeys. But hey, who said it was going to be easy? Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. This is one I know I'll be thinking about for a while.
My pleasure. Until next time.